Hi guys, thanks for coming and attending this very, very interesting conversation about AI and cyber threats and changing landscape. Okay, you do know that everyone is talking about AI nowadays. In every sector and industry, you can hear about generative AI, LLMs, offensive use, defensive use, and cybersecurity is not exception at all. Because on a daily basis, you can hear and we can hear about cyber threats and national state attackers using specific cyber attack tools. And now, even ChatGPT or Copilot and others, they're not just tools. They are force multipliers so that offensive guys and bad guys use to attack our critical information infrastructure. So, also good thing is that defensive guys also use AI for good. And now today we'll try to talk about this kind of battle, real battle between good and bad guys, between ethical hackers and cybersecurity specialists and penetration testers, information security managers, and on the other hand, cyber criminals, nation state attackers, cyber terrorists, and etc. You know, as I've already mentioned, the good thing is that AI and the relevant tools aren't used just cyber attackers and bad guys, but also from defense perspective, we have SOC teams, security operations centers, some phishing detection tools with AI, some incident response tools and crisis response tools with AI features included in them. Okay, effectiveness is different. There are various types of, resilience building for organizations from those tools. But also one of the bad things is that bad guys can, acquire their skills quickly and necessary knowledge and necessary tools, find vulnerabilities, attack paths and bypass certain millions use the solutions easily using these AI tools. Now we will talk, we have like 3 sections of this. First of all, Kieran, Griffin from PGI, we talk about changing cyber threat landscape because of AI, how it has changed over the past year. Then our beautiful girls will talk about offensive and defensive use of AI within cybersecurity. And by the end of the session, James from Toro Solutions, James will sum up from business perspective and organization perspective, what you can do now, what decisions you can make. Nowadays, you know how to invest, where to invest in people, process, and technology from AI perspective to be on the same page as your attackers are. So let's start from James. James, could you please tell us about changing cyber threat landscape? What has changed over the past year? AI is there, LLMs and different like worm GPT and like attacking GPT and etc. Scam GPT, they're already there. So what has changed over the past year?
Thank you, Giorgi. So my name's Kieran. I work for a UK company called Protection Group International. We do a lot of work for social media platforms, gaming platforms, dating platforms,
Kieran,
music.
Closer, please.
There we go. Music platforms. And what we do, and part of our work, is to help them to safely and securely leverage AI. So throughout today, we've heard a lot about AI this, and it can be good. But I think we're here to talk about how AI can be used by both cyber attackers and cyber defenders for both good and bad. Over the past year, I've seen a dramatic shift in the cyber threat landscape. And as we all know, AI is at the heart of that. What used to be a manual, time-consuming attacks are now automated, they're adaptive, and alarmingly scalable. Let me give you a sense of some of the scale. I'm a big stats person. So 2025, as of 2025, 40% of all cyber attacks are now AI-driven. So cyber criminals are using AI more and more to attack organization systems. This can include anything from automated phishing all the way through to malware that evolves in real time that has already infiltrated your system. In terms of like password attacks, this has now surged to 7,000 per second. That is 7,000 attempts to break a password per second. That is up over 1,000% from 2 years ago. We used to refer to these, or certainly like password attacks, as like brute force attacks. they're no longer brute force attacks. Like these cyber criminals, they are intelligent, they are targeted, and I think most importantly, they are like relentless. Like they are just going at you and at you and at you. So I think we are seeing a huge shift in the landscape. In terms of the economic impact, in 2024 alone, over $10 billion in damages globally from cybercrime. Again, this is doubled from the previous year. The stats that we have already for midway through 2025 is showing us that this is going to double again, and probably the same for 26, 27. How AI is enabling attackers? They're using it to identify vulnerabilities, to analyze targets, and most importantly, to launch highly personalized attacks. So we're seeing phishing emails, we're seeing those phishing emails mimic the writing style of your organization, your executive team. We're seeing deep fakes used more commonly for fraud. We're seeing malware, which I have not seen until probably last year, where they are using malware that adapts mid-attack. So that malware is adapting using AI in your system in the middle of attack to make our lives a lot more difficult as cyber defenders. It's not all doom and gloom, so I think AI is certainly helping cyber defenders. At PGI, we're helping clients deploy AI-powered systems. This is helping them detect anomalies in real time, flag suspicious behavior, and sometimes even predict the threat before it actually happens. So, Giorgi...
It's my second question, to be honest. So, tell us about any examples of AI use within your company for your clients, you know, good or bad usage of AI, how you utilize
absolutely.
it. Any examples, real-world ones.
And the real-world examples, they're fascinating, but at the same time, they're quite sobering and scary. On the attack side, the digital investigations team of PGI has tracked a very recent threat actor who used generative AI for an entire disinformation campaign. So that entire campaign had no human input, and it was Gen AI who created it, and everything in between. I think these are including, as we're familiar with, like fake personas. We're looking at AI-generated images. We're looking at deep fake videos that is very hard to distinguish from real content. I think on the defense side, we're helping organizations implement AI-driven monitoring that can detect response and threats in seconds. And one example here, Giorgi, I can't name the name, but we work for a very large financial institution in the UK. We do what we call AI red teaming, and for those unfamiliar with red teaming, it is where you are in the mind of the attacker and you're trying to penetrate and attack that system to find vulnerabilities in a safe, controlled environment that you can then report and help the organization become more resilient. This financial organization was using an AI chatbot. Before they launched the AI chatbot, we tested it, and then we uncovered prompts that could have led to data leakages, and I think most importantly, reputational damage. We've also conducted generative AI pen testing. So here we simulate real-world attacks on AI tools to identify the vulnerabilities. And I think any organization in the room today using AI, you need to test it before you're launching that product to your customers or to the market.
Thanks a lot, Kieran. Thanks for your input. Move to Maiko, as you represent Fortitude Digital, you're head of cyber defense division. I will ask you a question about like cyber usage of AI from cyber defense perspective. So how do your companies and clients utilize AI capabilities with some solutions and products? How they use all the beauty of AI and its capabilities and features to protect their organization from cyber attackers from inside and outside? Please.
So thank you for this question, and I will start with, as representative of system integrator company, we are cooperating with global vendors and global companies who operate in cyber defense, cybersecurity direction. So nowadays, you merely cannot imagine a cybersecurity instrument, cybersecurity tool, which do not use AI. It's not because it's just a fancy word, as many people think. It's because threats, AI-generated threats, can be beaten only by AI. So it's nowadays it's like which solution and which approach has a better algorithm and more trained AI and more trained, for example, LLM model. To be back to cybersecurity solutions, cyber defense solutions, probably all of solutions our company provide is AI powered, and to speak about some practical examples, some companies are using machine learning and AI models for detect malware, because legacy antiviruses which are based only on detection and signatures are not effective anymore because of polymorphic malwares, the kind of malicious software which can update itself, and also nowadays malware learned how to hide itself in legitimate processes and how to evade cyber defense and detection tools. So in these matters, cyber defense tools use AI elements for detection purposes, also for automation, because as you know, the main goal of cybersecurity to be proactive, to predict how cyber criminal will act and how the attack will proceed. So without AI, even if we face and counterface humans, without AI, we are much more slower, and we have literally no time to act reactively. So some cyber defense solutions use AI for detection. Some cyber defense solutions use AI for analytics purposes, because if you have a good threat hunter, it's like a treasure for a company. But if you have a good threat hunter with proper tools, AI-powered tools, it's like a SOC team in one PC, one workstation. So also a cyber defense solution use AI, like AI assistance for cyber defense solution, because another problem for cybersecurity is to teach company staff how to use the solution properly. And nowadays, cyber defense specialists, cyber defense analysts can use this assistance for threat hunting, for incident response, and with these tools they are much more fast and can predict how attacker and how the attack will proceed.
Thanks a lot. Before I move to Mariam, just follow-up question. It's amazing that you mentioned talented threat hunter and staff. And what is the situation in Georgian cyber ecosystem, Georgian companies? Because they do think that, Maiko and others will arrive with their super duper AI tools and companies will fire us, and layoffs and no more staff needed. AI will do everything, they will substitute us. So it's like common thing. What is the real situation in Georgia? So you've already mentioned that it's better to have system plus specialists. But if you I don't know, review horizontally all the Georgian companies and you've implemented some of the solutions, are these guys already there working with AI tools, or they have left the company or fired? Like general question.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because for us, I think it's a huge problem and huge question for each industry, especially for cybersecurity. People think and people believe that one day AI will replace real specialists. Nowadays, it's not a real threat, because you should be good at using the tools, you should be good at your expertise, and you should be good at using AI also. So if you are And in cybersecurity, you cannot imagine good specialists who do not want to develop and learn new tools and new approaches. So nowadays, if you can follow the flow and you understand the importance of AI, you will not be scared to be replaced by AI.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now move to Mariam and talk about offensive side of this AI usage. Because just to give you an example, 15 years ago when I started my career, if you wanted to develop a virus or hack someone, you have to go through the entire books and trainings and know networking and scripting and programming languages, blah, blah, blah. So many sleepless nights, etc. Now my 12 years old cousin can just ask ChatGPT how to write malware for MacBook or iOS or something, and it will probably give something, okay? It's easier for them. So what is the situation now from offensive perspective? Started from script kiddies and considering cyber criminals, penetration testing, and etc. How they use from AI for offensive capabilities from your experience?
Thank you for your question. And before I start, I want to thank everyone who made this possible because this is my first cybersecurity tech conference in Tbilisi because I always have to go abroad. So thank you everyone who made this possible. And thank you to the speakers before me who did a very good job with explaining the landscape and the defense side of cybersecurity and how AI is utilized. Before I move on to talk about offensive security, I will add on to the notion that was said earlier about AI replacing humans. I think there is no possibility for an AI to replace humans. And I think instead of fearing the new and what's comfortable and what is known to us, it is very important to be very open to emerging technologies and be very, very open to the new things happening in the world. I myself am guilty of just sometimes clinging on to what's comfortable to me. However, I try my best to recognize that sometimes the change needs to happen and you need to adapt to it. So being adaptable in today's world, especially in the technology field, is an extremely important skill. So we do not need to fear AI. We do need to learn how to work best with it, and we do need to learn how to best be aware of all the risks that are associated with working with AI. Moving on to the cybersecurity and offensive side of it. So cybersecurity is kind of like a battlefield of offensive and defensive side of it. And obviously AI has given a lot of advantages to the both. However, offenders are percentage-wise are much more than defenders because there are a lot of people who want to exploit and do bad things rather than people who want to defend and protect others. So it's always, defenders are always at a disadvantage. However, with the offensive side of it, AI has given so many capabilities and possibilities. Like you've mentioned, like your little niece, for example, can go and ask AI how to do something that is should not be legal. Yes, AIs, especially big AIs like ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini have already policies in place that protect people from harming others. However, there are still some loopholes that they can exploit and work around, which makes it extremely difficult to protect the public itself. And obviously, AI has changed many things, including phishing, for example. Like a few years ago, you could recognize phishing with grammatical errors and with punctuation errors, because you could tell that the person emailing you was not your CEO, because you know that your CEO speaks very well and can speak very professionally, can have a very good grammar when talking to you. But in today's world, AI can not only use proper language and grammar, it can mimic your CEO, it can mimic people, it can learn the way they communicate and match it. So things like that make it extremely hard for you to protect yourself, which is why it is extremely important to be aware of all the risks and be knowledgeable about protecting yourselves. Even with, like was already mentioned, with deepfakes and LLM, all kinds of attacks, and even AI worms, malwares have had a big advantages. because of AI. So it is extremely important to be aware of all the cybersecurity landscape currently and be ready for more and more changes, because this cybersecurity is just going to keep on evolving. So we need to be aware of how to defend ourselves properly.
Follow-up question, quick clarification. Based on your personal experience and feelings, can you give us a couple of examples how AI helped you and supported you within your offensive use of cyber tools or something? Just a couple of them.
One of my hobbies are participating in different hackathons, and obviously AI is extremely useful with everyday, day-to-day lives and not day-to-day operations. Excuse me. For example, like just simple questions that you want to ask. This is true for cyber-related things as well. When you need more clarification, or when you do not have time to do a lot of research on what type of malware something is, or when you want to find vulnerabilities faster than you would, AI has helped offensive security in many aspects, because it is able to analyze, for example, like given vulnerabilities, much faster and much easier than a human is, just because of its all the capabilities. And as humans, we may have advantages in other things, like being creative and being knowledgeable and so on. However, we do not possess what AI does, and we do not have the capabilities that it does. So it gives us speed, it gives us ability to check a big amount of information very briefly, and so on.
Cool, thank you.
Yes.
Now, James, let me ask you the question from client perspective. As you're, director of client services, people are listening to us. We've talked about offensive and defensive use and cyber threat landscape, but decision makers, technical guys, managers, they're thinking, okay, what should we do? So where to start? What are the key recommendations from your perspective, how they can trust using and utilizing AI from the organization perspective, considering various industries and sectors? What can you tell them as a recommendation?
Thanks, Giorgi, and good to meet you all. And so from Toro Solutions, so we build resilience within organizations looking at cyber, physical, and people security. And AI has obviously become a large part of this assurance piece and this protection piece for organizations. So I think the key word here is practical sort of considerations that you can bring into your business. And I think as a few of the speakers have said, that AI has hit the mass market now. Everyone's using it. All your staff are using it at every level. And so it's really important for you in your organizations to have a clear understanding of what AI you're bringing into your organizations that your staff are going to be exposed to, as well as yourselves, and having a clear picture of where the risks are lying. So I suppose part of why we're having this talk. So I'll split it into sort of three main areas, really. So you've got the products, you've got the processes, and you've got the people aspect in the organization. So from a products perspective, I think, and a lot of these steps are things that you already do with cybersecurity, and it's just, as some have alluded to, it's just sharpening these already existing measures. And this won't just be done by your organization. This is being done by the national cybersecurity centers within your countries. And it's constantly evolving and constantly changing. So I think the first thing to say is to be keeping up to date as things are moving through. But to start with the products point, so I think cybersecurity frameworks, for example, NIST 2, ISO 27001, all these frameworks are in place and have been built to help protect your organization. So making sure you've got one of these frameworks that suits your organization integrated in, and the policies are integrated into how you operate. We have then, as Giorgi mentioned at the beginning, you've got to keep your threat detection software up to date. You've got to keep your vulnerability scanning, your penetration testing, just making sure that your systems haven't been infiltrated, and just doing regular tests, depending on the size of you and how big your threat picture is, will determine how often you want to do this. But those basic cyber protections or cyber actions or cyber positive actions are going to be doing. And then it's a tool that we've been developing ourselves as well. But I think an AI risk assessment tool is something which companies will be coming out with and are available now. And going back to my original point, as you're bringing AI into your organization, you want to be knowing what the terms and conditions are of that particular system is. And so you can bring people in to do this, or you can do it yourselves depending on your legal team, but you need to know really clearly what protections you have from that piece of software you're bringing in. and then going through understanding the framework, how it works, and how it's going to affect your organization, but then also how that data that you're inputting into it is going to be protected. And so having a clear understanding of the AI tool that you're using, and then understanding where the risks are, and this can be done through the risk assessment process, and then understanding what the steps you need to take. I think it'll vary across the organizations and especially across the different tools that you use. Onto the process side of things. So having a good information management system within your organization. So does everyone need to know everything that's going on in the company? If you've got your special sensitive project that you're working on, and you've got 10% of your staff working on it, do the other 90 need to have access to that information? So segregating out information, understanding what the clearance levels are like within your organization, and keeping those up to date is really important. And I think strong governance, I suppose it leads on to the strong governance within your organization. And this is really set from the top. So you need to have your senior leadership buying in and setting a good example for the rest of the organization. And this will help as the AI evolves. Your governance is key to how you are going to adapt and move along with the times. And then the supply chain is really important. You know, every organization is connected in some way, and systems are integrated, and you've got, whether it's just within one region or multinational, it can get quite complex and quite messy, and supply chains are seen as the soft underbelly of organizations. So you can be good to go, have top of the range protections, but it could be your caterer that has links into your organization that's very weak, and then people can get through from that side. So it's understanding, having that supply chain assurance in place to make sure that those organizations that you're working with are connected to are also protected, because that will impact you. And the last one is people. So as we talked about, everyone's learning this and has as much impact as each other when it comes to how you use this AI from the bottom to the top. And so within the training, and the cyber hygiene is one part, so making sure that people know how to not click on phishing links, and understanding how they're developing, as we've talked about, and having that sort of razor sharp, almost paranoid feeling within each of your staff when it comes to unfamiliar emails coming in, or even familiar looking emails, but just having that time to have a second look. So as well as the cyber hygiene training, understanding how they should be using AI safely, so not putting sensitive data into the tool. Larger organizations will have their own internal ChatGPT equivalents where they can be a bit more open with what they're putting on. But then obviously, if you're putting all your sensitive information onto any AI tool, that information can be, it's still a weakness that could be accessed. And if they've got it in one place, then suddenly you've got something you're going to be concerned about there. And then the sort of vetting of your people as you're coming in, making sure that as they're coming into your organization, that the security is something that is something that is on top of their minds as they're coming in. But I think the key point with all of this is the culture in your organization. And this is set at the top, as I'm sure you've all heard before. But really important in this ever sort of dangerous world that we're moving into, where we don't all really understand what the threats are, and we'll only understand once they've happened. And organizations are going to be experiencing this. It's not a matter of if, but when for a lot of organizations. So having that culture really sort of aware that security culture within your organization is really important. And as we talked about before, as it evolves and as the risk changes, that culture should help protect you as you adapt to each step.
Thanks a lot, James. I want to thank you all, and thanks for giving this opportunity. We can talk about this discipline for days, but we don't have enough time. And just to wrap up and sum up, guys, the right mindset and the right approach to the AI is not to fear, not to be feared that, oh, it will substitute us, they will come. No, learn it, use it, and be on the same side and on the same page. So because AI is already there. Offensive and defensive usage. Thanks a lot.